Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to the show.
And now, your hosts of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the For Frequency's Sake Tag Team Champions of the World, the Wizard CZ, and Never Wrong Nick Bull.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another exciting edition of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the podcast by the fan for the fan. Welcome to our little corner of the wrestling world. We could not do this without our sponsors, and I'm going to rattle those guys off real quick. We are here at Card Subject to Change, are powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook of Country Financial. So glad you're joining us. Welcome to episode 183 of the Card Subject to Change podcast. I am your host, Never Wrong Nick Bull. So glad you're here. So glad you found us. So glad we're settled in here for another hour or so of talking wrestling with somebody new. We got a first-time guest in the studio today. But before we get to the guest, we got some stuff to take care of. And before we take care of stuff, I got to tag in my partner here. I have talked a little bit too much already. He is one half of the For Frequency's Sake Tag Team Champions. He is also my tag team partner. He makes this show go. He is the one. He is the only. He is the Wizard CZ. Wiz, how you doing, bud?
Man, the sun is shining. It's a good day. I feel good. I'm ready to learn some new stuff from a new guest. Like you said, we got just a little bit of business. We won't take too long with that, but want to remind everybody of the 4th annual Sandra Lee Memorial Car Show that we are sponsoring. That is on May 3rd this year. That's a Saturday coming up. And the winner of the wrestlers who are there get to pick the winner of this beautiful belt that we are a part of. Our logo right there, front and center on the side plate, Nick, and that's just awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty cool to have a podcast. Pretty cool to have a cool logo. Pretty cool to see that logo on a side plate of a championship belt or on a ring apron, like up at Absolute Pro Wrestling. But really freaking cool to see your logo kind of up there in the lights for everyone to see. And those who made this belt did a tremendous job. We want to thank Ricky Lee, who is in charge of the Sandra Lee Memorial Car Show, for getting this picture to us, giving us a little peek behind the curtain, so to speak, if you will. We hope to see you all out there on May the 3rd. I know Ricky wants to see you all out there. I know that the car show has a goal of getting over 100 cars registered for it this year. We hope, for car shows like that, rain or shine, we're going to be there, but you definitely don't want the rain. You want people out at those things in the sunshine, yes, and people bringing their cars and signing them up all for a good cause. That's the feel good. That's the feel good of it. It is for a good cause. I believe, is it benefiting the Quad City Autism Society? Yes. Thank you. So we've been out there last year. We'll be back out there this year. Can't wait to see everybody. Can't wait to meet some new faces that are being brought in for the show. So it is April. It's spring. This is the first, as we record this, April 6th, Sunday afternoon, as we go live here and record this. If you listen back later, and we appreciate our audience that does that. I've got my garage doors open. I've got the big door open. I've got the back door open. It is beautiful. There's a beautiful breeze behind me. It feels good. And it's a bit fooling because it does feel like WrestleMania season, CZ. But this is like when you set the clock forward in the springtime and you lose that hour, you're like, what's going on? Yeah, WrestleMania is 2 weeks away. 2 weeks away. Feels like it should have been last night and today. I agree, but it's 2 weeks away. More on WrestleMania later. CZ, we got a little bit more business here before we bring in our guest.
Yes, I just want to give a shout out to our good friend of the podcast. Love him. He hypes us up. We hype him up as much as we can. Mr. Jared Thumb, last night at SCW Pro, a 2-time tag team champion with his partner Jared Thumb, was JP Finger. Jared is who we're talking about. There's my brain.
Yep.
Jared, congratulations. That's awesome. We love it. Also, the current Central Empire Wrestling Champion, which they've got a show coming up on May 17th. If you're not going to, if you need to be there for that for sure. So
absolutely.
But without further ado, we need to bring in our guest. I'm excited. This is a gentleman that I met through the Joe Monroe Show. I was privileged to be on the first episode of his return to the podcast business. He is the leader of Cult X, and we are drinking the Kool Aid today. Welcome in the mad scientist, Shane Timmons. Shane, how are you today, sir?
Gentlemen, how are we doing today? I'm doing well. Thank you, guys.
Doing great. The sun's shining. We're upright, and we're here to talk wrestling. So
amen.
We love having all kinds of people in. We love having first-timers in. So, Shane, I'm going to ask you the same question I ask anybody else that comes on this podcast for the first time. Why pro wrestling? What was it for you that kept you, that struck you as a fan, as a youngster, or whenever you became a fan and kept you coming back? What was it about pro wrestling?
For me, right off the bat, it was family oriented. I grew up in a wrestling household. So my dad and my mother, they worked long hours. They actually worked at the same place. My dad did maintenance and my mother was head of laundry. Later became a supervisor of laundry. But wrestling was always on in our house. I remember it from a young age. I've always said this and I'll always say this. My dad hated Ric Flair. All of his friends hated Ric Flair. And they all loved the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, because they were all blue collar workers like Dusty was. And, you know, they just didn't like Flair. And those were my youngest memories of pro wrestling, was the talk of always the American Dream being like Ken, you know. And then you had the Nature Boy, who was that ritzy guy, you know, and you just didn't like him, you know. And those were the earliest memories, like as a kid. Now, I would later go back and watch those matches with my dad, you know, Dusty and Flair in the cage for the NWA World Heavyweight title, which would become the Big Gold years later. But I've always said on record, because this is the moment that I remember actually, like, this is the moment that I remember, like, visualizing, oh, wow, this is wrestling, right? It was WrestleMania 6, and it was a title for title. And it was Hogan and Warrior. I wasn't necessarily a Warrior fan. As a kid, I thought it was really cool. But, you know, the face paint, how excited he was, just always shaking the ropes. But Hulkamania was always running wild through my house. My father was a huge Hulk Hogan fan. Excuse me. I was more Macho Man. Like, I was a Hulkamania, you know. Like, I was all about Hulkamania. I was a Hulkamaniac. But then it was like when I discovered, you know, Macho Man, I was like, oh my God, okay. Like, this is kind of like, all right, these guys do this, but he's jumping off this top rope, you know. And at the time, you know, like, I'm young, you know, and I got a couple older brothers and a couple younger brothers. And yeah, man, it was almost like after WrestleMania 6, we just caught ourselves, my brothers and I, just wrestling with our pillows. I guess we've all done that. You know? I think we've all been beat by our pillow once in our life. You know? Like,
Shane, you bring up a great point there about, you know, being a Hulkamaniac growing up, and then you flip to Randy Savage. Mm-hmm. And I think nowadays, myself, I'll speak for you, Shane. I'll speak for you, CZ. I think we take wrestlers that do high flying stuff for granted because we've seen it so much.
Yeah.
But at that time, seeing a guy like Macho Man, who was just as flamboyant as he was, enthralling with his promos, getting up there and doing that elbow drop, like, that was a big deal. It gets done today by anybody else in whatever. Shawn Michaels had a pretty good elbow drop. But,
absolutely. He had, yeah, like, besides
but Savage doing that, I think, transcended, and I think brought a lot of people in because there wasn't a lot of high flying stuff, and that was kind of out of the ordinary. People like to see that, and he was a guy that gave you both. He gave you that, and he gave you the stuff that you were used to seeing in WWF. when you said that, that's what it reminded me. That's what sparked in my mind.
How it is too, because man, like it's like, Randy could do what Hogan and Warrior were doing in the ring, but they couldn't do what he was doing. Now granted, Randy only had a couple top rope moves, but when you're a young kid and you're going, oh, this is wrestling. Okay, these guys are in a ring. These guys are doing this. Oh, wow, I didn't know they could jump off this top rope. I didn't know they were going to jump to the outside with a double axe handle. Randy just became one of those guys that just, like I said, like I was a Hulkamaniac, but when Randy first time I saw Randy Savage, I mean, the colors alone, how flamboyant he was. I was like, oh my God, cool as a kid, and now this guy's jumping out of the ring doing a double, like he's like hitting people like this and dropping an elbow. Like, what is this, But yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that I always go back and my earliest memory was with Randy and Hulk going into WrestleMania 5 and the Mega Powers explode. So that anytime somebody mentions Randy Savage, that gets me going, because he was such a tremendous worker and very talented, gone before his time.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Can I tell you a quick funny story about that Hogan Macho Man match at WrestleMania 5?
Yeah.
So that would have been 1990, correct?
Yes.
I was 8, gonna be 9, and I didn't watch it. My parents, we didn't get pay-per-views back in the day like that. So I remember we were calling like the radio station to see if they knew who won the Hulk Hogan Macho Man match. Like I didn't have cable. I didn't know. I wouldn't know essentially until the following Sunday on wrestling. So I remember calling the radio station and seeing who won that match. And like, if kids heard that today, they'd be like, "What are you doing? A radio station?" But back then, you did what you could to get results.
Yeah, there were no cell phones. There were no internet. There was no internet. You had to find it. You had to find it yourself.
Yeah,
the hard way.
Can I piggyback off what Nick said there?
Yeah,
absolutely.
When you said you had to call the radio station and you didn't get the pay-per-views, right? All right. So like growing up, like my dad bought them for amount of time. And then it was like all of a sudden he just stopped buying them, like it's almost like I had the blue Hasbro WWF ring. I had Earthquake and Typhoon and Yokozuna and then the Rockers, and man, I was creating my own matches. And I'm excited for Survivor Series. We're getting Survivor Series and getting SummerSlam. Then all of a sudden it was like, man, these pay-per-views kind of stopped. But what's funny is, a piggyback off of Nick, was I remember if I couldn't make it to a good brother's house to watch the pay-per-views that his grandmother was renting for all of us, then I had to wait until Monday. And at this point, Monday Night Raw is happening. So I'm over here like, crap. I'm about to go, like, I'm in 5th grade. I couldn't make it to the pay-per-view party, right? But my mom's friend in laundry would always buy the pay-per-views and then dub a tape. So he would give me the pay-per-views would happen on a Sunday. I would get the tape on a Monday. My mom would come home at work at 2:30. I got off the bus at 3:30. Raw's on at 8. I've like made it clear to my friends in middle school, do not tell me the results. I want to know. I want to see it by myself. So I had to run home from work, or run home from school pretty much. Mom's off work. I got to get this tape, pop it in the VCR, watch the 2-hour pay-per-view just so I'm prepared for Raw. And I remember the first one ever that I missed, that I could not wait to see, was the Royal Rumble 1995. Shawn Michaels Goes All the Way from 1 to the. That was the one, because we always went to a good brother's house and we'd watch pay-per-views, and I missed it. I couldn't go for whatever reason, but I remember getting that VCR tape, man, and popping in. I couldn't wait to watch it. Royal Rumble 1995. Shawn's coming in at number 1. He's supposed to come out with Pam Anderson. He comes out with who was it? Who was the other blonde at the time?
Jennifer McCarthy.
Jenny McCarthy. Yes. Come out with Psycho Sid, looking good. You know what I mean? It was good, and I had 2 hours, or well, at the time it was 3 hours for the Rumble. Had 3 hours to watch that to go into Monday Night Raw. And man, I'll never forget those times. Just, man, that was such a good time. Kids today don't understand.
They don't.
No, not at all.
You miss it. You go to Netflix or
I know it's so easy nowadays. Like when you said VHS tapes, like I perked up because I lived a block and a half from a video store, and that was like my pipeline if I didn't get told about it or a recorded copy from my neighbors. Mm-hmm. So what I'm going to ask you this, we asked our guests that, you know, if we ever get on this topic, what was your favorite like VHS rental? What was your favorite wrestling tape or show that you rented?
That I rented
repeatedly. What's that one you just watched over and over?
I gotta go because kind of like you, Nick, me and my buddy that I was mentioning about, my good brother, there's a few other good brothers. And I just want to take a second to say shout out to Ryan, shout out to Travis, too sweet. I love you guys. Click for life. We lived roughly 5 blocks from a video store called Dave's Video, and they had the greatest wrestling collection, right? Going back to your question, I have to go SummerSlam. Undertaker versus Undertaker.
That's SummerSlam 94, correct?
94. Yeah.
That's Brett and Owen in the cage?
I do believe it was Brett and Owen. Yes.
And I believe it's also Shawn Michaels and Razor, their rematch from WrestleMania 10.
No, that would have been 90. Yes, no, 90. Yes, maybe it was 94.
I'm going to pull up the card. I'm going to look up the card right now. We're going to talk about it, but talk about why that show was your most watched.
Constantly. Because growing up at this time, I'm like maybe 13 years old, and you're thinking to yourself, damn, there's 2 Undertakers. Ted DiBiase's got an Undertaker. Paul Bearer's got an Undertaker. It's like, who's the real Undertaker? Like, what's going on? As a kid or as a young adult at that time, a teenager, you're like, wait a minute, there's 2 Undertakers? Yeah, because I know Shawn and Hall had arguably the greatest ladder match in history for, honestly, in my opinion, the most prestigious title in history, the Intercontinental. So many great workhorses held that championship, but that ladder match was phenomenal. And the fact that Shawn had to hook himself in the rope at the end, it was just good storytelling. You know, Shawn was champ, Razor was champ. It was just good. But yeah, definitely, man, SummerSlam, Taker versus Taker. That was the one that I feel like I rented that the most. Because if I remember right too, they had the one Sleuth. He was always going around trying to get clues about where Taker is and all that.
Sure.
It's just good storytelling. Like going back, watching it as an adult in my 40s, I'm like, all right, it's kind of kiddish. But at the time, man, it was the coolest thing going.
Absolutely. You just like us, man. You're around similar in age as us. You ate that up like we did. So we aren't the only ones. Everyone ate it up.
Fun. Like as a kid at that time, you're like, oh my God, this is awesome.
So I want to follow up. We've talked about, how you came into the business as a fan. What was that crystallizing moment for you that said, I've got to be a part of this? This is what I have to do.
Little unknown fact about me is the guys that I just mentioned, Ryan, David, and Travis, they're good friends of mine, man. They're my good brothers. They're family to me. I've known them for 25 plus years. We all kind of hooked up, clicked, and we just kind of ran with it, and we've been running with it since. We were able to all go to the Rumble, in this past February. Great time. But I was running with those guys in middle school, and obviously we're all wrestling fans, and we're like in our early teens. And we all started doing backyard wrestling, man. We were making championship belts out of cardboard. And I remember the first original belt that we made. I think it was like the big gold, if I remember right. But it was all cardboard, right? And then we started upgrading. We started getting fancy, and we started making these cardboard belts and using old T-shirts that we didn't need. We'd cut if there was a logo on the top half, we'd cut the bottom half off. cut it in half. You got a strap, you glue it to it, whatever. But
Sure.
but yeah, we started doing all that, and then we started. There was a place here in Marion where we're all from. It was called the Magic School Bus, and it was ran and owned by a guy named Jason Maples, the Hurricane. I'm not sure if that name rings a bell for you guys or not. Big name in professional wrestling, but he ran this little shop, and he had a wrestling ring in the back, and it was just like a really cool spot. Like, you could come out, play pool and just hang out. He was just trying to get back to the community, give kids something to do our age, or kids our age something to do. But he had a wrestling ring in the back, and I remember all of us going back there and just, playing around the ring, and he'd always take us to like live events and stuff like that. Pay-per-views came to Indianapolis, about an hour from us. We'd go with him or whatever. But then he started a company called EWF. And that right there, just like, I remember going to that with friends and family just every weekend. And because every weekend they had a show, and they would do punk rock shows, because they basically had this theater. And when you walked in, on the left side, you had to walk through this corridor, and you had wrestling. And then that was on Saturdays. But then on Fridays, you go to the right side, and you had punk rock music over there. And me growing up punk rock and roll and all that stuff, 50s rock and roll, it just fit, So every Friday, boom, man, I'm doing this. Every Saturday, boom, I'm doing this. So I just kind of got into it. And then I met a lot of guys that I actually get an opportunity to work with at AECW now. But yeah, I got with a couple people, and we created this, this backyard company. It's called EVW, is Extremely Violent Wrestling. It was based off, watching old Terry Funk and Mick Foley matches, just, hey, they did that. Hey, we can do this, and it was real, but then you start studying the art of, what is professional wrestling, and you start getting to know people in the business, and you start taking it seriously, and you start, picking their brains per se, and you just kind of learn. But yeah, that's basically what it was, man. I mean, me and the clique, man, we've been doing this for years on baseball diamonds and empty church parking lots or whatever we could do. And it just kind of led into what it is. And, one of those guys, he's working for AACW, and, I'm honored and privileged that we sat at a 5th grade middle school lunch table, creating contracts and creating storylines. And, now me and him, we get to sit and live that dream working for the same company. And I love it, man. I think I'm just blessed for that.
Oh, absolutely. That's fantastic. Everybody has a different way they came in. Everybody has a different story. And I love hearing, because I don't know if you feel the same way. It sounds like you do, but wrestling is just a big family.
It is.
Me being a former ring announcer, I have a lot of people that I consider brothers, family in the wrestling business. And I love hearing other people's stories about their friends and family in this. Go ahead and let's just talk about Cult X. How did that form? Talk about how that came together and what that stands for in your world of independent wrestling.
All right. Well, we'll start with what it stands for. We've always, I'm a very big serial killer fan. I love watching documentaries. I can find myself doing it for hours. I love learning of like why, like I love when I say, oh yeah, I like serial killer. People's like, what? No, like, yeah, I'm a fan, but I also want to know why they did what they did. What in their brain triggered them to do what they did? And, why did society make them so famous for what they did? And if you go back and look, a lot of them, it was back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So it was world news. But yeah, that's pretty much what Cultus is. It's like, I look at that stuff, and especially Charles Manson. he's my favorite serial killer besides John Wayne Gacy. And the thing about Manson that I love is he never killed nobody. You know, he was able to take a group of people, you know, and he was like, hey, I'm just going to go live free off the grid and you're more than welcome to come. And, you know, they kind of did that and they drank the Kool Aid per se. And we use a lot of, when it comes to Cult X, like we use a lot of references that I think today's society won't necessarily get. But I like to I like to do a lot of cryptic promos, and I like to do a lot of cryptic live promos or video promos, because I'll do some on just, you know, I'm typing it out, you know, keyboard warrior, right? But I'll do cryptic promos, you know, and I want people to crack them, because I've had people come back like, oh, that's what you meant when you said that. That's exactly what I meant. When I do the actual video promos, I do the same thing. I've just always been fascinated with, like, you know, what's done in the dark will be brought to the light. That's one of my favorite lines. You know what I mean? And I love the fact that we were able to kind of create something with that. And, you know, with creating it, here's the thing. Here's the brutal honest truth. Cult X stands for, because, you know, when we first started, we were hated, man. Everybody hated us. And now, you know, we're having these kids too sweet us. You know, we're walking out doing our lap and they're hitting us too sweets and high fives. Now, you know, these are the same kids that hated us the last 3 years. And now all of a sudden, you know, maybe they're starting to realize that, hey, you're hearing our message, you know, and just basically the message is, you know, it's just, we're here for the broken. We're here for the damned. We're here for the never was. We're here for the lost. We're here for the damaged. We are the trash that was thrown away. And hey, in high school, right? You're never going to be nothing because you're not a job and you're not a princess. Well, if I remember straight, living in my high school, that's what was told to me. But I'm doing a lot better than a lot of those jocks and a lot of those princesses are doing. I'm able to live my dream, sit here with you two gentlemen, tell my story for people to hear. And yeah, that's just kind of what Cult X is, man. We're just kind of that we're the anti-heroes, man. We're CM Punk. We're Stone Cold Steve Austin. We're Brian effing Pillman. You know, we're those guys that are just rolled up that, like, hey, if you want to hang with us, hang with us. If you want to cheer us, cheer us. If you want to boo us, boo us. Our thing is, we're going to go out there and we're going to do what we're going to do regardless. And if that means cheating to win or whatever, then fine. But if you want to cheer us for doing that and you think it's cool, then I have no problem with that. You know, like, there's a joke going, oh, you guys are kind of like the NWO now. You guys are kind of like Bullet Club now. 2 hill factions, but the kids think you guys are cool. The adults hate us, but the kids love us. And I think that's the like weirdest shit. Like we'll walk out, man. Like, our music hits and like we don't even have to do anything. The music hits. Like, screw these guys. And then as soon as we walk through the curtain, it's even louder boos. But then all of a sudden it's like these adults are seeing these kids interacting with us and high-fiving us and too sweetness, and they're like, all right, maybe these guys aren't so bad. You know, so I don't know. Man, you know, to be able to do what we're doing, and it's been a lot of fun. But yeah, man, Cult just stands for the broken and the lost, man. Like, the never was, the never wanted, you know, just the people that were thrown away, man. I mean, that was the point of the whole group. And honestly, to answer the other half of the question, that's kind of how it was started. It was just, there was a group of us that, nothing against the wrestling world. It was just, we looked at our personal lives and we said to ourselves, you know, we weren't fortunate enough to do this in school. We weren't fortunate enough to be the cool kids in school. So, you know, we were misfits. I'm a punk rock kid, you know, and I come from a poor family, and my family did what they could for what they had. They were working class. And so, yeah, we were given an opportunity at AECW. They gave us an opportunity to create something special. And I didn't think, when we walked through the curtain the first night, I had doubts. I mean, not like doubts of like, oh, this ain't going to work. I knew it was going to work, but I had doubts on, are we going to get them? Like, I didn't know how that was going to go. And people were just confused. And then it was like, oh, okay. No boos, no cheers. It was confusion. It was like, what is this? Like, these guys all have these armbands on. These guys are wearing matching hoodies, matching T-shirts. Like, obviously, they're a group. What is this? And then it just, yeah, man, it just right place, right time. Just shout out to Shane Calster, the owner of AACW, for obviously giving us a chance to do something that we thought was pretty cool. And we thought that maybe people our age could understand and, being degenerates and stuff like that. But yeah, man, I'm very blessed for what we were able to do with that.
And it sounds like it's just been a hell of an evolution there, coming, starting off getting booed, and now the kids and the fans are cheering you. There's a saying that if they're making noise, you're doing something right. Doesn't matter which side of the spectrum you're on. And that's pretty cool. That's got to be a pretty cool feeling to hear either the cheers or the boos when you guys come out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's 50-50, man. I mean, like I said, when we're standing in Gorilla, there's altogether, technically, there's 8 of us. Right now, we're down to 6. A couple injuries have taken a couple people out. Appearances are being made here and there where appearances can be made. But right now, we're down to 6. But, yeah, man, we'll be in Gorilla. And, man, that rumble of that rumble of the beginning of the song will hear, hit, and then you just hear, here comes the call, and it just blasts you in the face, and you can just hear the crowd, boo, and then we walk out, and it's like, oh, there they are, and boo even harder, but then all of a sudden, we start walking, like, hang on a second, I'm going to bring my daughter on, she's in here wanting to come on.
Yeah.
I love it. We got a run in, folks. We're joined by Shane Timmons here of Colt X. He's Colt X. He's also known as the Mad Scientist. We are Card Subject to Change, podcast by the fan for the fan, powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook of Country Financial. Shane, looks like you got your hands full.
I do. So this is my daughter, Ramona. My beautiful wife, Emmy, and I, we created this little thing here. She is a riot for sure. She has all of her own personal baby version of Colt X gear.
Of course.
Of course.
You say hi?
Hello.
You ought to have her lead you guys out.
But yeah, man, she's my bundle of joy for sure.
You ought to have her in the Colt X gear lead you guys out.
Yeah, maybe one day.
One day. It's something to look forward to.
Well, funny thing was, I'm sitting here wearing the Colt X hoodie, and my favorite outfit that she has, because we like to do all black, but then I like to do camo as well, like at least camo pants. Like if I'm doing casual SWS, right? So I put her in camo pants this morning, and I was going to put her in her little baby Colt X t-shirt. But my wife actually had to go to dinner, and we were like, well, maybe wearing the Colt X shirt to a family dinner with, highly Christian people, which, I have no problem with that, believe what you believe. But yeah, my wife was like, well, maybe we shouldn't wear the Colt X shirt. I was like, yeah, probably not in case pictures are wanting to be taken. But
So how is let's just talk about that. How has being a dad changed your perspective on wrestling in general?
Oh man. Well, all right. So I have. So my oldest son, the Tanner Kelly, he's actually in Colt X as well. He's a former tag team champion. And then I have Hoot. His name's Trey, but we've always called him Hoot. Me and him have wrestled for years. But it's really cool because I get to watch Tanner do his thing, alongside me, and then because he's in the group, I'm his manager. He's always liked wrestling. It's just something that my dad passed on to me, and I was able to pass on to these kids. When it comes to her, she's the toughest out of the three.
She's got to be.
How to yeet. and that is her favorite thing to do. She has block, styrofoam block mesh things. I don't know. Like daycares have them, they're all different shapes. She'll stack them, right? And one day she climbed up there and she like splashed me. And I was laying there tired after work, and I was like, cool, you splashed me, kid. And I was just like, yeet. And then I started teaching her the yeet. And then now she'll climb on the block, and I taught her to do the actual, like, and then she'll jump out and splash. So it's really cool.
That's fantastic.
It goes back to saying wrestling, like I'm blessed to be able to do what I've done over these years. And, like I'm fortunate to be able to play music and, do that stuff. And then wrestling was always kind of there too. And, to be able to bring my to it, and that's mom grabbing her. But like I said, man, like there's like one of my favorite photos, like with Roe, Hoots obviously got to meet a lot of people. Tanner's got to obviously meet a lot of people. The first person that Roe actually got to like meet, that was like a big star, was Congo Kong. He actually, he does stuff with AACW. He's our head trainer. So to be able to work with him and, pick his brain every day, I love walking up to that big dude and just being like, I love you, man. And he's like, I love you too. He's probably my ass for saying that. But yeah, man, like that was one of my favorite photos here in the last couple of years of just, being able to have all my kids, my wife and myself take a picture with Congo. That was really cool.
Absolutely. That sounds awesome. Let me ask you, we talk about this with a lot of people. What is tripping your trigger now in professional wrestling? What do you gravitate towards in today's wrestling society?
What do I gravitate towards? Man, that's tough. There's a couple different things. Like I was really gun-ho for AEW when it first started. My wife and I, man, we got I'm gonna take you guys on the run because I'm gonna smoke a cigarette. But we got all the pay-per-views. And those things were $50 a pop, right?
Yep.
So we're dropping money on AEW. We went to all the live events. We were at the very first Indianapolis live event, which was really cool. But man, yeah, like I was really gravitated towards that. I feel like here in the last couple years, I feel like they've kind of lost the magic per se. Like I'm just not really a fan. I feel like, I don't know, man. I just feel like they lost their star power in a way. Moxley, I've never really been a fan of. So I really wasn't a fan of him in the Shield. So him doing his new group, I don't like that he's hiding the world title very much. I mean, he's never been seen with the title since he's had it. It's in this damn briefcase.
Right.
And to me, that's disrespectful because that's your company's championship. That's your champion. You should be proud to hold that championship. You should be showing that off, not having it in a briefcase. He's, and I get it. He's doing the whole thing. I understand it. Holding it hostage. That's fine. But he's had so many opportunities that title should have been shown at least once or twice. I personally think with Orange Cassidy, I haven't, now correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't followed AEW in a long time, but I do believe from what I've caught here recently, Swerve is challenging Moxley.
Yes, that's the main
tonight,
event
right?
of their next show, Dynasty. Yep.
Okay. See, that's what I thought. Like I said, I haven't caught much of it. I still keep up on the company. I mean, whether I like the company or not, I still try to stay up on, the company because I like wrestling, and that's the thing I love the most is, don't worry about, is this company better than this company? Is that company better than that company? We're all wrestling fans. Just enjoy wrestling.
Yep.
Because I don't personally watch AEW Dynamite every night, doesn't mean that I don't still catch up on it, or keep up on it. I mean, I'm the type of guy, guys. I work so much. Raw's on Netflix, thank God, because I can actually go back and rewind and watch it.
Yeah.
Because half the time, man, I work so much. By the time I come home and eat dinner, I'm out. I'll start the show, and then it's more like a Tuesday, Wednesday night Raw to me.
Sure.
Fair enough.
That's what's
But
great
yeah,
about
like
wrestling.
that's something that I gravitated towards was AEW. Man, honestly, I just want to say this, always remember that no matter what, dude, that no matter what wrestling show you're watching, always support independent professional wrestling, because
Amen.
you've got to understand, and I know you guys do, all these guys that we watch and all these guys that we look up to, they all started in a gym. Look at Seth Rollins, look at CM Punk, two of the biggest stars. They're headlining WrestleMania right now with Roman Reigns. It's just, I just gravitate towards wrestling, man. Like just as a whole, like I love going to local shows more than I like going to the bigger shows. Like I was able to go to the Royal Rumble with my buddies, like I mentioned earlier, and it was cool. Don't get me wrong, but going to the local shows, it's a different feel, man.
Yes.
Oh, totally is. Once you approach wrestlers and realize and talk to them, like it's just so much better than going to a big show. But don't get me wrong, I've been to the big shows and they're fun, but dude, I have more fun and enjoy myself more at an indie show than I do at a big show.
100%. It's such a more intimate feel. You feel like the people more. I mean, sure, the character Seth Rollins, the character CM Punk, but when you go to an indie show, you get to know not only the character that they're portraying, but when they're done in the ring and they're at the merch table, you get to know them as a person too. So you get to see that, oh, this is a real person who really loves what he's doing and loves the wrestling like we do. It's not just somebody there getting a paycheck, which I'm not saying that anybody in WWE or AEW is just there for a paycheck. I'm sure there probably is someone there, but these guys have a passion, and you can see it with everything they do, way more on that independent level than you can on the big stage.
I agree 100% because, like I said, man, being able to be a part of, the independent scene, obviously I'm a heel. But like I was previously stating earlier, the kids are starting to like what we're doing, and it's just a different feeling, like here's my thing. Like I'm a heel, right? All right, cool. If I'm out back and a kid walks by and they're like, hey, dude, can I get a high five? Hey, man, can you sign this? Do you think I'm going to be that heel in that moment and not do it? Absolutely not. And I know some people will be like, oh, no, you got to do that. You got to do that. Not me. Because I'm thankful that that person acknowledged me enough to say, hey, I know you're a bad guy. You're a heel, but we still sign my shirt. 100%. I'll sign your shirt. Absolutely. I'll take a picture with you. Because I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing without those fans. So heel or face, I don't care. Like if you come up to me after a show or whatever, hey, I'll be more than happy to, to do what you want.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things I love about doing what we do here on our show is we get to talk to people like you and we get to learn more about your story and promote you as a person as well as you as in the ring. We get to meet all these new people, and that's, I kind of low-key consider us the voice of independent wrestling because we bring so much young talent on, not even young, all across the board to learn their story. And I wish there were more platforms like ours that did this, because you get to know these people really well. It's such a great feeling. And I think a lot of them have the same attitude as you, where, yeah, I may be a heel in the ring, but if you come up to me outside of my match, sure, I'm going to shake your hand. I'm going to take my picture with you.
Absolutely.
It's just how it is.
Well, like I said, it just goes back to, like I was saying earlier, like, wouldn't have the opportunity to do this. And the thing about me, like, I have kids and I love kids. Like, I've always said kids are the future, you know what I mean? And it's up to us to make sure that they learn how to, just like our parents did us, right? We were the future there for a while. Now it's time for us to teach these kids to be the future. And, you know, like I said, I'm proud of all my kids. My daughter's almost 2. She's going to be a huge wrestling fan. But I just look at kids as they're the reason that we do this, you know? And I love the fact that Called X has caught on to a point that we're cool now, like the NWO. We're cool like Bullet Club was. Like, it's like, man, okay, these guys cheat, but man, they don't lie about what they're doing. Like, they're just being honest. They're going out there and they're doing whatever they want to do. And man, these guys are breaking the rules. Because we all sat and watched the NWO do that. And we all had the same thought, man, this is awesome. Because we were all teenage kids. We were all degenerates. Man, I wish I could do that. Man, these guys are doing this, you know, and I was fortunate enough to be able to be put in a group that I was able to create myself, you know, and I was very fortunate enough because and I've said this on other podcasts, and I'll say it here on this one, 100% brutal honest. I was given a great spot by a great person to be able to create something 100% from me. Like, I wanted to create Called X. Like, I wanted to be this. And all I was told by said person was, run it by me on what you want to say or what you want to do. And all I had to do was that. And every time it was, you have my permission, go for it. I've never had to run a promo by anybody. I'm very fortunate enough to be one of those guys that doesn't have to have their promos checked. You know, I'm very fortunate enough to be trusted by this company. They put a lot of trust and love into me and Called X to give us an open platform to say and do what we want and do it our way, as long as we're very respectful to their terms, you know what I mean? And it's never been anything where it's like, hey, you shouldn't have said that, or hey, don't do that. There's a big understanding. There's a big fine line between the talent and the company itself. And when you're able to come into the, you know, to a company like AECW and be able to have the opportunity to, hey, so I'm going to cut this promo. All right, cut it. They don't care. Hey, we know he's going to respect the company, but he's going to say it how he wants to say it and do it his way. Hey, we don't care. Say what you want. So I'm very thankful and very blessed to be able to do that.
We're talking here with Shane Timmons on the Card Subject to Change podcast, the podcast by the fan for the fan. Of course, we're powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook of Country Financial. Shane, I want to know, you know, who's on your Mount Rushmore? Who do you think's up there, or who's maybe not on your Mount Rushmore, but you really dig?
I was waiting for this one. This is one that I've been asked in the past. Answers never change. Been asked a few times, but I'm definitely waiting for this one. Thank you for that. Number one, I got to go the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. In my opinion, he's the greatest to ever do it. I was a huge fan of Shawn growing up. I was drawn to Shawn. In my opinion, Shawn Taker WrestleMania 25 is not only the greatest WrestleMania match, in my opinion, but it might be arguably the greatest match of all time. There was just so many different side notes on that makes it that in my opinion. But definitely Shawn's got to go up there. I got to go Stone Cold. I've been a fan of him. My favorite tag team of all time is the Hollywood Blondes. Love Stunning Steve and Flying Brian Pillman. I thought they did a good job with what they did for a tag team. Obviously Stone Cold, or Steve went on to become Stone Cold. Flying Brian became a loose cannon, you know, former Horseman. Did his run in WWE/ECW. Great stuff. Huge Pillman fan. And then so we got Shawn, we got Austin. Definitely got Macho Man on there because, again, it was just, that was the first time, like, wow, this guy's jumping off this top rope, you know? So yeah, Macho Man's up there. Randy Savage, definitely. And then I got to go Dusty Rhodes, man. Got to go Dusty, man. Never was, I mean, just, he had the shimmy, he had the shake, he had the vibe, you know? He had Sapphire, Here's my son, Dustin Rhodes, and my son, Cody Rhodes. I'm the American Dream. Dude, when he turned NWO, one of the coolest heel turns, in my opinion, for NWO. Just so awesome. Scott Hall versus Larry Sabisco, and then Dusty comes down and unbuttons the shirt, man. NWO shirt after the bionic elbow, man. Awesome. Yeah.
That's a really, really good list. That's
a good Mount Rushmore. I really can't argue with any of those.
And I've always find it hard to narrow down to just 4 people. It's so hard to just pick those top 4 for me, because there's so many greats out there, and those 4 names, I can't argue with that at all. Shane, let me ask you this: as a manager, as a professional wrestling manager, is there anyone past or present that you would love to walk to the ring with and just be their guy in the corner?
Absolutely. Top 3. Number 1, Jake the Snake Roberts. Number 2, Scott Hall. And number 3, Macho Man Randy Savage.
Brilliant. I love it. I can see any of those.
Scott Hall, Bray Wyatt broke my heart. His passing shattered me. That was hard pill to swallow right there. Huge Bray Wyatt fan. I use a lot of my character, a lot of my gimmick from Bray. The cryptic messages, the cryptic videos. A lot of that comes from the movie The Crow. All that comes from horror movies. A lot of that comes from this, from that. I grew up on watching, right? But a lot of that came from Bray. But then Scott Hall, that one still hurts. That one, Scott Hall, to me, is one of the greatest of all times. And I couldn't put him on the Mount Rushmore per se, because I think he's above Mount Rushmore. The Lone Wolf Scott Hall, the NWO Scott Hall, the bad guy Chico, man. I mean, dude, it was just, like when I was playing music, had the opportunity to do a lot of cool stuff with that. His swag, man, that Razor Ramon character, that Scott Hall character, man, that was, I live that every day, playing music. And there's been many times I've walked out and Scott Hall through the curtain, just, I'll do it randomly, maybe one minute I'm sitting Tanner, or maybe we're talking Scott Hall stuff or something. I'm like, I'm gonna Scott Hall through the curtain.
Sure.
Randomly doing it, and I'll do random, shout outs to different people, but yeah, Scott, man, that was a tough one there.
100%. Do you think he should have held the world title? And at least, how many times should he have held it, in your opinion?
Yes, he definitely should have held the world championship. I think the Razor gimmick was over enough at that point to hold the WWF Winged Eagle Championship. I think he should have held that at least twice. I would have liked to seen him and Shawn revisit the feud. Maybe had he not left and we got Shawn beats Brett for the world's title or for the WWF Championship, maybe we could have went back and rewound to him and Razor one more time for a good lengthy feud. Maybe give us 3 matches. So I want to say 2 for the Winged Eagle. Most importantly, when he won, was it their 3-ringed? I'm drawing a blank.
World War III.
Won that. I thought, okay, here we go. Scott looks so good holding the World's Championship the few times that he held it for Hogan. I thought that title was built for certain people, Dusty being one, Flair being another. Rick Rude looked damn good wearing that title.
Yes, he did.
Scott Hall would have looked just as good wearing that title. Whether it was the black and red blood drip or it was the Lone Wolf white and black drip. Scott Hall was definitely world champion material. And I hated that he never got there.
I completely agree. I cannot disagree at all. Shane, we like to be respectful of everybody's time. I know we're getting close to the hour mark, but before we get you off the hook, got to ask you 2 questions that are probably the most important that we're going to ask. First question, where can we find you on socials if we want to follow you? Second question, where can we see you in a wrestling ring?
All right. So you can find me on Instagram. It's going to be SWS_Shootin with Shane. You can check me out there. You can find me on Facebook. And again, it's going to be SWS or Shootin with Shane if you want to be lazy and just type SWS. So you can find me there. You can find Cult X on Facebook at Cult.X. So Cult.X. You can find us there. We're always doing fun stuff, so check that out. You can find me in the wrestling ring at ACW, All-American Championship Wrestling. I do want to do this really quick. If you guys got a second, we do have our next show coming up. We just started our new season this year. And, man, last month and first show was a bang. A huge crowd. They were rowdy. They were loud. It had been 4 months since the last AECW show, and they were ready to see their favorite good guys, Cult X. But, yeah, man, you can the next show is actually this coming Saturday, so it's going to be April 12th. It's going to be held in Sharpsville, Indiana at the Sharpsville Gym. The event is called AECW Groundbreaking. We got a couple matches that I'll get into. I'll announce the card, a few matches of the card that I got wind of. But doors open at 6. Show starts at 7:05. Tickets are $15 for front row. You can get them $12 for 4 seats, or you can do $10 bleachers. A lot of fun at AECW, man. Like I said, it's very family oriented. I've always said, hey, if you got a date night and you don't want to go to a restaurant, you don't want to go to a bar and hang out, man, come watch some professional wrestling and watch guys do something that they are very, very passionate about. I also want to add to that fans of AECW can now sponsor their favorite AECW wrestlers. You can go to AACWIN.com. That's the official website. You can check out ticket prices, book your tickets, check out the roster, send personal messages, whatever, and you can look into the packages that we offer. But yeah, so we do a silver pack for $25. We do a gold pack for $35, and then we do a platinum pack for $50. Again, you can get all that information on AACWIN.com or at Facebook, AACW Old School Lives. And then I just want to jump into the card if you guys don't mind. It's going to be a fire show, man. It's going to be really cool. I just want to say this. We got AACW United States Championship rematch. Former Cult X member, former champion. And I say former Cult X member because I haven't seen Justin Danger and Ravy in a while, so I don't know exactly what's going on in his mind. But Justin Danger is still our U.S. champion. But Bobo Brazil Jr., who is current AECW United States champion, will be defending that U.S. championship in a rematch April 12th against Cult X member Jake Elliott. He was my son, the Tanner Kelly's choice to join the group. He's done well for himself, I would say. The next match just came across this the other night. Nerd Nelson Edwin Robert Doolittle the Hope I did you right, bud. He has some choice words for a good brother of mine. We're not quite seeing eye to eye right now, but if I know Damian DeVille, I think there's going to be a fight happening April 12th. Unfortunately, last month, Cult X, the Tanner Kelly, and my Monster Experiment, he unfortunately lost the tag team championships. We are the longest reigning AECW tag team champions in history, though, with a whopping 8 months. We get the rematch this Saturday, so we'll be taking on Cold Hard Cash. That's Christian Cash and Zig Gates. And then a match that I will definitely be checking out because I have history with both these guys. This will be the main event, and it is the second ever cage match in AECW history. And one of these guys was in the very first one, and that's Justin Terrell. He'll be taking on Cruiser. You guys can get, like I said, go to YouTube, AACW Old School Lives, go to the website, check out the videos, go to their Facebook. This feud has become to a point it needs a cage match. With that being said, man, again, check us out on Facebook, AACW Old School Lives, Instagram, AACW_Old School Lives, AACWIN.com for the official website. Get all your tickets, roster information, latest news and updates. And then I just want to say really quick, a shout out to some of our sponsors, Fast Freddy's Taxi Service. If you guys are having fun and you don't feel like driving home, call Fast Freddy. He'll get you there. He's a personal friend of mine. Shout out to Holiday Lawn and Landscaping. You can get free quotes to those guys. Neon Moon Bar and Grill here in town. The wife and I were just talking about possibly a Neon Moon Bar and Grill pizza. Arguably the best pizza in Marion, Indiana. So if you're in the Marion area, check out Neon Moon Bar and Grill. I'm going to give a shout out to Alton's Electric. And you can find them all on Facebook, man. So,
well, Shane, it has been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. Love it. Was a great conversation. So thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate you. Love to look into having you back, or maybe some of your boys coming on when we have some open booking spots. But again, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
That is going to put a wrap on this episode of Card Subject to Change. For my tag team partner, I almost said my name. Never Wrong Nick Bull. I am the Wizard CZ. I tried to go backwards. I tried to switch our personalities, Nick. For my tag team partner, Never Wrong Nick Bull, I am the Wizard CZ. This is Card Subject to Change, the podcast by the fan, for the fan, powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and of course protected by Jared Zuko Country Financial. Stay tuned to socials. We'll be back here. We've got the kickout coming up. We've got another episode coming up. We'll post up our upcoming schedule here in the next couple of days. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
This has been a For Frequency's Sake Podcast Network production. For more great content, subscribe to For Frequency's Sake on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.